There's a number of things I love about this book. First of all, how it connects sustainability to the big global challenges beyond the environment, and how it connects sustainability as a central piece, puts it on a par with prosperity and security. That's a different way of thinking about, it's not just about the environment. This is about how we create a better world, a better life, and more resilient to all the shocks that are probably coming down the road.
I think America's at a really crucial point in the American experiment. We've got extraordinary challenges facing us on every front, and we've got historic opportunity also facing us. Our generation, this generation that's alive today, really needs to take advantage of that opportunity to meet those challenges. And what we've laid out in this book is a pathway to make that happen.
I mean, that's what grand strategy is about. Taking on what, we quote Thomas Paine in our book, saying, what is the cause of all mankind? Well, today the cause of all mankind is taking on this issue of global unsustainability. We've got the moxie, we've got the goods, we can do it again. When we do grand strategy, we stand on our economy, we align our governing institutions and foreign policy to take on the great big global challenge of our age. I mean, that's why we make the reference to World War II when we were the arsenal of democracy, that we took on global fascism by arming and equipping our allies, and meanwhile building our own juggernaut to go fight a two-front war on a global scale. I mean, it worked. Same thing happened in containment. We used that same pattern to be able to take on the Soviet Union in a contest of political and economic systems. And we contained them militarily, kept them in their box, but it was this firm belief that our system was better, and that if we were just the best America we could be, we would outlast the Soviets, and it worked.
The big existential challenge of today we call global unsustainability. We see it as four primary components. Rapid economic inclusion. We've got 3 billion people coming into the global middle class in 20 years. It's climate change and ecosystem disruption. Historic levels of migration, weather pattern disruption are disrupting commerce, disrupting lives and livelihoods. We're living in the midst of a contained depression. What happened in 2008, the financial crisis of that era, is not yet over. It's been contained by extraordinary action on the part of the Fed, but it's not done. We see a massive resilience deficit. Our systems, our infrastructure, our supply chains are fragile. They're brittle. They're prone to shock, disruption, and capture. When you put those four things together, rapid economic inclusion, climate change, ecosystem depletion, the contained depression, and our resilience deficit, you start to see an integrated problem set that requires a grand strategy.
One of the things I really came to appreciate in this book is how much of our country, how much of America is the design, the functioning is really based on aligning our economy with our foreign policy, from the interstate highway and defense system, as it was called when it was first created, to our agricultural policies, for better or for worse. And the challenge now is that we haven't had a new strategy since they last lowered the hammer and sickle on the Kremlin on Christmas Day 1991, and we're still working off that playbook. And so a lot of the things that we've been doing in our economy are based on sort of an old reality. By looking at grand strategy, it gives us a chance to rethink what do we stand for, what do we want to be, how do we want to be seen, how do we see ourselves, and through that, what's the opportunity to, in effect, reinvent our economy for the 21st century.
Like it or not, I mean, the rest of the world looks to the United States to see, where are we going? What direction are we taking? I mean, that's leadership. Whether we want it or not, people are looking to us. And, this opportunity that we have, that's, sustainability, market forces, all that, the opportunity, though, is formed around, we have these huge human converging interests that, you can't put them in the box of state-on-state conflict. I mean, I know ISIS is out there. I know that people are worried about what China's doing and on the Spratly Island, the South China Sea, and what's Iran's next move. Well, that's life. That's life in the geopolitical world. However, these big trend lines, the human condition, China's got big, huge, vexing problems around how they're going to urbanize, how are they going to feed their people, where's their energy going to come from, where are they going to get fresh water. Same problems India has, same problems we have.
Grand strategy is really baked into our constitutional DNA. Really, it's the highest level of planning that we can do. And it's really called for in the Constitution. If you look really closely at the Constitution, we are principle heavy, but institution light, right? And that means that every generation has the opportunity to craft the institutions that it needs to meet the challenges of their own era.
It's really cool how we came together on this thing, that you worked in the developing world on economic development. You're 28 years in the military, fighter pilot, and then working in strategy. And me, the sustainability guy. And we all came to kind of exactly the same place, that sustainability needs to be the organizing logic for a new American economy that protects America, restores America's strength in the world while it builds the country the way it needs to be built.
I mean, I had to shed a lot of baggage about coming to the sustainability space. I mean, because first of all my Marine pals would make fun of me. You can't. That's not hard-nosed stuff, because that is the lefty, liberal, greeny thing. Well, the more I got into sustainability, I was like, actually, this is how we operate militarily. I mean, you got to sustain yourselves. This is what Adam Smith was talking about in The Wealth of Nations, was you have to have a sustainable economy. And oh, by the way, at the end of the day, particularly coming from a military background, I mean, we're problem solvers. Right now it takes 1.5 planets worth of resources to support us, or the human species. Well, that's kind of problematic. But then when you start looking at when the 3 billion more come into the global middle class and their consumption rate goes up 300%, it takes 4.5 planets worth of resources. Well, gee, maybe that's something we need to get our arms around. And the only way to get your arms around something that big, that problematic, that truly global in nature, is grand strategy. I mean, we just there is no other way to take it on, because we cannot take a reductionist approach. We cannot do what Americans do great, is analyze things to the nth degree. We need to do that kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, we need to synthesize things, and that is at the very core essence. That's what strategy is about: is synthesizing. Avoid the trivia and get on with the big muscle moves that have to take place to take on these big problems. And again, we just got to stress that we are America. We are the land of opportunity. Taking an opportunity's way out, that's where we need to go.
In essence, this is about a massive opportunity, a massive economic opportunity to build these trillion-dollar markets for walkable communities and regenerative agriculture and the resource revolution of how we make and do things again in this country much more efficiently and prosperously. And that's an opportunity-centric view of America's future that we're just not hearing anymore. We're hearing about things we used to do, things we could do, but not really that this is, if we all come together and look at the opportunities that are staring us in the face, we can solve a lot of the problems and make this a much stronger, more resilient nation.
One of the most fascinating pieces of insight, I think, that comes out of our book is the opportunity that oil and gas provides future generations. Fundamentally, we are completely agreed with the environmental community. We need to move oil and gas out of the combustion end use. I left the process of writing this book with the firm belief that we have to use those hydrocarbon molecules as polymers to build the cities, the communities, the built environment, the stuff of the 21st century. There's really no alternative way of building everything we need to build in China, in India, in the United States, houses, roads, other infrastructure, if we continue to use legacy materials.
Also, when you use those, you're using less cement, concrete, less steel, less aluminum.
Less lumber.
And those are often much more carbon intensive and water intensive than actually oil. And this is a case where oil is the climate savior, at least relative to some of the other materials.
Absolutely. And if you
Wouldn't
think
that be
about
a cool bumper sticker?
Climate,
What if oil is the solution to climate change?
But see, what's really cool is how do we, right now we're taking about 20% of the oil out of the ground to make things. What if we flip that around? Can we go from 20/80 to 80/20 or 90/10, where that is the predominant, it's not that you have to leave it in the ground. You just can't burn it, but we got to build with it. That's really the power.
And in the process of doing the research for the book, we talked to natural gas and oil scientists from Royal Dutch Shell who said they absolutely have the capability to have 80% of all oil and gas moving into the materials sector.
And
it's completely within the realm of feasibility.
One of the things that grabbed me about this book is that the vision is really the best of the progressive left, the idea of energy and water security and protecting the environment and protecting the underclass, lifting up the underclass, with the best of the conservative, which is a plan by business, for profit, with or without Washington's leadership or money. That's a refreshing change from most of the big think that we get these days, which is all about what can government do for us.
We spent time bashing Washington, probably rightfully so. But in America, we got to realize that government does still work. Democracy still works. It just happens to be working a lot better right now at the city level, at the county level, with mayors, county council members. I mean, they get it. They have to engage. They have to get stuff done. They don't have an ideology that they can hide behind. They don't have a state house they can hide in. They can't go to Capitol Hill and not go back and really be in touch with their constituency until the next election cycle. But they've got to get stuff done. And it's working across America because people need jobs. They need to have progress. They know the kind of communities they want to live in. And that's the role of government in a lot of ways. So it's not just throwing government over the transom. It's how do you integrate public, private, civil sector resources, desires, capacities, and most importantly, intent to create the communities they want. That's what's happening across America. It just needs to be amplified. It needs to be integrated. And quite frankly, I think we need to just talk about it more and be proud of it.
One of the things that was so inspiring for me in working on this book was just realizing that we have all the answers already. So many of the ideas, the concepts, the solutions that we talk about as part of the grand strategy around walkable communities, around regenerative agriculture, resource productivity, were already taking place all over the country. We've got farmers that are using carbon farming to sequester carbon while making their soil more fertile and keeping greenhouse gases out of the sky. We've got advanced manufacturing centers cropping up all over the country that are showing how we can make things again and do it with far fewer resources in sort of the new circular economy model. We've got communities, both in cities and suburbs, that are using these new designs that make cities more walkable, greener space, just better places to live for people of all generations. We know how to do all these things. The challenge and the opportunity is how do we propagate the good examples and the great stories that we saw all over the country and make it part of a larger strategy that we all can sign on to.
We have to figure out how to integrate all this good work that we found is going on all over the country. We have to integrate it in a way that's coherent. We have to integrate it in a way that works for our markets, right? And that's, I think, one of the great pieces of new work that we did with this book, is to figure out what is that new industrial ecosystem that can tap into that demand and tap into that capital, putting Americans back to work while solving the problems.
That's what grand strategy is about. Are we gonna fulfill our obligation as citizens? Get rid of our excuse matrix about why, Washington's not working, we can't get anything done, and just say, okay, what can I get done? What can I get done? What can I contribute? Grand strategy isn't just this lofty, ethereal thing. It's what we can do every day as citizens to make that better future for our kids and grandkids. That may sound altruistic, it may sound unrealistic, but I don't think so.